All right, let's stay with developments around the festive season. I mean, this is a joyous season for some, but there are also concerns about the safety of children as well as substance abuse. Now, there are a number of pens down parties despite warnings about the dangers involved here. So think about the Enyobeni tarvern tragedy, for example. So what do we do? How then do we deal with this particular challenge? World Changes Candidates Chair Mahlakgane and Central Drug Authority Chairperson Nandi Mayathula-Khoza are joining us now for this particular conversation. Let me thank you so much for your time. I'll start with you, Lucas. This is a time when we all think we're letting our guard down as parents. We are, spending time with our children, but you're saying that this is a time when we should be more careful.
Exactly. Thanks for having us, Bongiwe, and thanks for the viewers at home. This, as World Changes candidate, we have seen this thing coming a long time ago. Actually, in 2016, we had an outreach program in Soweto, and we had a march in the form of a march from Maurice Isaacson to Orlando West, Orlando East Police Station. Along the way, and the police that were escorting us did a random search, and they saw a suspicious car. They searched that car only to find that it was actually coming to drop the drugs into the community. So what happens is, like, normally around from the 15th into the 16th, there's a lot of influx of drugs going into our communities because they know kids are going to be just like having a jolly time and doing that. And as far as parents, we also lose guard. We saying let them go and have fun, but we don't realize that this is a continuation from the pens down that they just had, and then that is going to only continue into the festive season. And I can tell you now, between now from today until the 31st, there's going to be a lot that's happening, more especially amongst young people around teenagers. And we're trying to sensitize the parents to say, this is the time, even as parents, to spend more time with young people. And we are very fortunate that we have someone like Buhle Samuels, who started a challenge to say the families should come together and say no to drugs. And because we're trying to stop this thing that the jolly doesn't actually start when after the third, when we are all going back to work. From then, the kids take it into the schools. That is why you'll find that beginning of the schools, you will have a lot of drug stories, because with the kids that have been experiencing them, that they have actually been enjoying this leftovers that adults will be leaving into their bottles, because the kids experiment with that. In your family, when you guys are having party, kids go behind you and take those leftover bottles, and then that's how they actually get hooked into drugs. Then they take it into the schools. The drugs are never a school issue. There are community issues that are taken into the schools by young people.
And I want us to focus on the communities in just a moment, but let me bring Ms. Khoza into this conversation. Thank you so much for your time. Are you also finding that as a Central Drug Authority, it's one of the headaches that you have around the festive season, particularly the issue of drugs?
Good evening, Bongiwe. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Yes, thank you very much. I apologize for the video that's not working. Indeed, I mean, this is a very, very serious challenge and problem. I do want to express my appreciation to, non-profit organizations such as the World Changes candidate, who are really, embarking on a campaign against the pens down parties, because these are the parties that are dangerous for our underage children in particular, because they can actually go through quite a number of challenges as they participate in terms of accidents. There can be accidents in roads, and they can lose their lives. And, girls can easily fall pregnant because they would act irresponsible. Even the young men would act irresponsible during this time, and they can contract diseases, and so many challenges associated with the pens down parties. So we really appreciate the campaign. So
should parents then be allowing their children to attend such parties?
Parents should sit down with their children and educate them about the dangers of alcohol abuse and drug abuse, especially educate them against the pens down parties. Some parents, when their children went to Enyobeni tarvern, some parents did not even know. So even if the parents, say no to their children, some children will find a way to go to these, parties where alcohol is abused and drugs are also abused. But I think what is important really as parents, on a daily basis, we really need to educate and teach our children against, on the dangers of drugs, but the values. Values are very important in a household to guide, our children in particular, because, drugs and alcohol abuse would actually risk their health, it will risk their safety, it will risk everything. So I think that for me is very, very important, sitting down with the children.
Lucas, there's something that also happens when there are parties in some of the families. You find that, the adults are drinking and then they will say, no, but let me introduce my child. So let it be me who gives my child their first drink, because then I can be able to control what is happening in that particular environment. Let's talk about the dangers of that, because you're not with your child 24/7.
Yeah, exactly what we are saying. And, that we are saying the drugs and substance abuse and alcohol start with the pens down issue. And then it goes into now as a national issue, as a society issue, because from the 16th, it's mainly the adults that are actually now into this drug and substance abuse as well with the alcohol. So there isn't any, they don't even have any control themselves over that. The drugs are addictive substance. There is nothing such as tasting. You can't experiment with drugs. Any sort of drug, it be cigarette, it be alcohol, is addictive. So if you are saying you introducing your child into alcohol, so you are saying let my child get addicted, because you're not going to control it. It's not like a cold drink and a coffee where you'll say no, just have a taste. There is nothing such as taste. That's why as World Changers candidate, we standing for saying even the pens down parties must be cancelled. As it is now, everyone who can go on the social media, there is a mayhem that happens in Guatemala at Utando Park. Kids died there, and there is just so much. There are the figures, the pictures that are coming on. You can just go on the Facebook and see what happened in Guatemala with the pens down. Kids lost their lives, and we know of some of the parents, because we're working with organizations that are based in that area that are still dealing with the aftermath of that pens down. So it starts with pens down. It goes into the nation now celebrating the 16th into the 31st. But as soon as adults now start stopping because they don't have money, the kids continues and take the culture into the school. And then from the school, in January, you are going to see a lot of schools involved into drugs from January until April. Remember in April, on the 20th of April, it's called 420. It's a drug day for the kids. And then they have drug, but that's the one that gave exposure to Leondale High, because it is called Dacha Day, the 420, and the kids, and that's another thing whereby you realize that as parents, as the community, we don't really know much about the world of drugs. So with us as an organization, it's what we do on daily basis. We see these things. Even when we were the Madibem primary school blow-in, for us it was not a surprise, because we know most of the vendors that are selling around the school, then they are selling this thing. And what we are trying to say is, if we deal with this thing now, and where parents get involved in joining their kids to say no to drugs, it will also go into no to drugs at school, and then we can actually cut the reduction in the demand of the drugs.
True. And Ms. Khoza, let's then talk about what communities then do, because sometimes we do hear of communities who say, for example, that we know that at that particular house they're selling drugs, but we fear for our safety. If we report this, they will be back in the streets tomorrow. So how then do communities deal with this at a practical level?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, I didn't hear the rest of the question, but I'll try, because I think that you're asking a question about what communities should do.
Yes.
Because the drugs are sold in communities, it is correct. We know who are selling these drugs. We know who the drug dealers, who the drug peddlers are. They are in the families, they are in our families, they are in the community. So, and because this is a societal problem, communities should not look at government or even at NPOs to say, what are you doing about it? But they should ask themselves, what are we doing about it to protect our children from alcohol and drug abuse? So they should report, the drug peddlers, the drug dealers in communities. We don't even want to give them the word drug lords, because then we are, a lord is a very respectable thing. So they are drug criminals, they are drug dealers, and they really should be arrested, they should be convicted, and they should be prosecuted.
What happens pardon me, what happens though in some of the cases where we see communities report these particular individuals, but then these people are back on the streets tomorrow to harass the very same community that is trying to act against them?
Yes, it's a very big challenge, because, as we were engaging with the communities throughout South Africa, this is what communities were saying. So we then have a challenge in our country of the rights, the human rights, because these criminals will be arrested, and because they have a right to bail, then we see them, walking in the streets. So we need to deal with the legislation to ensure that when these drug dealers are arrested, they are, they rot in jail, they spend the rest of their time in jail, because indeed they are causing harm, they're causing havoc in the communities. But indeed, yes.
In about 10 seconds, Lucas, then what happens in these communities? Because these people are back and communities simply give up on the fight.
I'm glad we were just engaging with the chairperson of the Central Drug Authority to say we can change a lot of things through changing the legislation, like she just alluded now. World Changers candidate was in the forefront of fighting the Bella Bill, Section 8A, that was going to allow schools to sell alcohol for fundraising purposes. We wrote a petition, and South Africans signed that petition. We were invited in Parliament to go and to come and present, and that bill, that section was removed. And on the 27th, on the 27th of September, we were called in by the Secretary of the Portfolio Committee on Basic Education to say, with your oral presentation, your petition, that has been removed. So I was engaging with the chairperson of the Central Drug Authority to say, let's change laws, let's go and let's write more petitions, and we'll need more communities to participate. We are going to write another petition to try and push into, in South Africa, to be found in possession of drugs, you can only be fined for 5,000 rands or 5 years in jail. And that's lenient. To talking about somebody that sell drugs, that's like a drop in the ocean. But then we need to say we need harsher sentences, to go push it to the limit. But if we change the laws, then we can actually make an impact in the society, and the society should join us on that. Let's
see then what happens in this fight, but thank you so much for coming in, and that is World Changers Candidates Chair Lucas Mahlakgane and Central Drug Authority Chairperson Nandi Mayathula-Khoza.